So if you've ever been on any kind of diet, you've probably had one of those days where everything just goes out the window. You start the week off great, but then Friday rolls around and it just gets more and more difficult to stick to that diet. You wake up with the best intentions, but then somebody brings a donut into the office and you've been good, so you eat one. And then maybe a coworker invites you out to lunch, and since you've already cheated on your diet, you figure it would be a good day to treat yourself to a cheese quesadilla and maybe a beer. And at this point, you've completely blown your diet, so you tell yourself that you might as well enjoy it. You grab the last crusty donut in the kitchen on your way out of the office and grab some Taco Bell on the way home maybe. You feel like crap, but you tell yourself that you'll get back on track next week. Rinse and repeat. We've all had days like this where one small deviation from our path sends us down a ditch that we really have to climb out of. And I've seen the same exact thing happen with money. I'm guilty of it myself. So I'll share a personal story. Several years ago, my wife and I took a vacation to New York City. We had a general budget in mind, but once we got there, we got into this money is no object mentality. We figure we're in New York City, let's live it up. So we spent way more than budgeted on food, museums, shows. Now that mindset may have a time and a place. We created some lifelong memories on that trip, but the problem was that mentality didn't end when we got back from the trip. We figured, hey, we already blew our budget for the month, so might as well make the most of it. So instead of limiting our spending once we got home, we continued dining out excessively and basically just disregarding the budget for the remainder of the month. We figured we'll get back on track next month. Sound familiar? Well, all too often, whether it be health or wealth, we let perfection become the enemy of good. We falter just a little from our plan, and then we let that negatively influence all our future choices. And I think this is because we think of decisions, especially around food and money, in these arbitrary time periods. Most people think about diets in weekly terms, and most people think about money in monthly terms. So if you mess up your diet just once, then the whole week is ruined. If you have an unexpected expense, then your whole monthly budget is ruined. We need to get out of this way of thinking. While this thought of I'll get back on track later may feel like a temporary relief, it feeds the idea of I failed. So you carry around this sense of failure. And I think that prevents us from making good decisions for the remainder of the day, week, or month. It would be like if you took a wrong turn on a road trip, but instead of deciding to turn around immediately to get back on track towards your destination, you say, well, this trip is ruined. Let's go home. We'll try again next week. That's nonsense. Yeah, this is exactly what we're doing when we view progression as only occurring in weekly or monthly increments. Alternatively, I think by viewing each choice as an isolated decision, you give yourself freedom to make better choices even after making not so great of choice. Progress doesn't happen overnight, and failure does not mean you need to start back at square one. Instead, you can take every choice you make, good or bad, and use that as a feedback source for making better decisions moving forward. For instance, maybe you spent more than expected on entertainment this month, but you still have 2 weeks left of the month. Does that mean you just live it up and make more decisions that move you further away from your goals? No. You learn from the experience and you do better next time. And by next time, I don't mean next week or next month. I mean right now, today. Because eating 2 donuts is better than eating a dozen donuts, and spending $200 over your budget is better than spending $400 over your budget. And while it may be defeating to miss your mark, one bad decision this morning does not remove your ability to make a good decision this afternoon. We all make mistakes, we all miss the mark, but if we learn from those mistakes, instead of immediately abandoning our path, we'll be that much closer to reaching our goal. Progress is progress, no matter how small. So don't let one bad decision, or even 100 bad decisions, ruin your ability to make one small good choice today. Well, I hope this gave you some things to think about. Have a great week.